Welcome to Lines and Spaces Season 3. I'm Michaela.
And I'm Jason. It is so great to be back doing this and sharing this space with Michaela here. And I'm gonna be presenting some more episodes this season, so that's gonna be very exciting. And as you can see, we are not together right now in a physical space.
We are
We are on Zoom, abiding to some safety procedures and also because of weather
Mother
transportation.
Nature just had other plans for us. It
Yes, it snowed,
rained and it was
then it got
icy
cold.
and snowy and
Yeah.
slushy,
So
but not
yeah,
the
well,
good kind of
Michaela.
slushy.
Michaela, how have you been doing?
I've been great, Jason. Um, yeah, I've been doing well. We both started our first full-time teaching positions at two different schools. In addition to that, I did my first professional performance gig and have now been getting more involved in regional theater. I'm a big musical theater person, kind of a nerd about it. Um, so I got to be in a production of Elf the Musical with some of the most wonderful performers and creative team that I have ever met, in addition to Jason, of course. Um, and that was a wonderful experience. It was a lot to have uh, to be teaching full time and to also be in a show with full rehearsals and performances and everything. But it was great because it was filling while it was a lot going on. It was also refilling and helping me to recharge and bring back a lot of great energy into the classroom with my students. Jason, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been, it's like you mentioned, I started a new position, my first full-time teaching position, teaching middle school and elementary band, which is a handful because middle school is a bit of a handful.
Middle school is rough.
But outside of kind of that core teaching, well, I guess I do a lot of teaching. I teach at
Yeah.
this place. Finished up a marching band season with the high school that I've been working with for the past 2 years. This year was a lot kind of getting back into the groove of things with some restrictions being lifted. And I just recently started teaching, well, I guess this past month, recently working teaching front ensemble or pit for a high school indoor percussion group, which is exciting. Definitely a new
Very
venture
nice.
for me, because if you don't know, I am not a percussionist. I am a tuba player, but I did percussion
Jason, you can
things.
do it all, but continue.
um, Thank you. Um, but on the note of performing, it has been sparse because the group that I do normally play with in Philadelphia, we had a concert lineup for the holidays, and then some stuff happened because the place that we were supposed to do it at, which is a local church in Philly, which we actually had an event going on, doing like a donation drive and coat drive at the same time as the
Such a
concert.
wonderful thing to be doing.
Yes, it got canceled unfortunately, but we were still able to do a live stream of the performance and share it on Facebook, which was very nice. We got a lot of support and kind of seeing people comment on it and enjoy the music and having the 2 weeks prior rehearsing leading up to that performance was so nice. Just being in a room and just getting to sit down and just play music and not rehearse music, like not like, you know, the whole 9 yards of like coming to rehearsal and not knowing your
Hmm.
part. It was just kind of like boom, bang, bang, everybody do their part, just making music together and just working on music, which is
Hmm.
very nice. Um, but yes, Michaela, I'm gonna ask you a question. Now,
Oh,
kind of
I
thinking
love
back,
questions.
thinking back to teaching, what was your favorite? What is a favorite memory or moment that you've had so far in your kind of, teaching career?
Good question. Jason, I've had so many moments so far. So many moments. Um, but I think there are two that come to mind. The first one is very short, so I will supplement it with another one. The first one, which it gets me every time I think about it. I work with third, fourth, and fifth graders in Philly at a performing arts school, and I love them dearly. One of my fifth graders said to me one day, Miss Hickey, you look like a 12-year-old from the back. And I just did. I don't want to know what I look like from the front, if that's what I look like from the back. That's one. My other one to supplement um, is I made a deal with again, my fifth graders, which when you make a deal with the student, you know you have to follow through. I made a deal that if they gave their best possible performance, they did their best at their winter concert, um, I would share with them because they kept asking if I have written any of my own music. I said, yeah, I've done a little bit of that. And they're like, can we hear it? And I said, if you give your best effort at your concert, then yeah, I'll share one of my songs with you. And I'm like, they'll forget. They didn't forget. They even remembered through winter break. And then we came back after the break, and immediately one of my students said, Miss Hickey, you have to show us your song. So I shared it with them, and that was probably the most nerve wracking performance of my life, singing a song that I wrote for fifth graders. Um, and a few days later, one of my students was asking about concert rep for the spring, and he was like, can't we just sing your song? And that truly made my day.
Oh, that's so
How
amazing.
about you, Jace?
I
Thank
will
you. I think so too. They're
kind of celebrate
wonderful.
you off your point. Yeah, for some reason, performing in front of your students in that regard, being like a creative person outside of just like teaching, is very weird.
It's a whole different level of like vulnerability and like because
Yeah,
it's different to like play and sing for them like what they're working on and like I'll
yeah,
like start singing mid sentence and it's like nothing, but to like actually say I'm formally going to sing this for you is
yeah,
terrifying.
yeah. Being yeah, yeah. But so for me, I'll also keep. I'll do two, and I'll keep one. Very, very one short, one kind of longer. The short one really is kind of my fourth grade clarinet class. Um, have been having a lot of fun, and they keep like coming in with just they're going above and beyond with how they've been practicing, and they
Yay.
keep on asking me like, "Hey, like it's like, can we just have band every single day? Like, why can't we just have like, can this be like, why can't this be longer? Like, oh my God, I wish it could be."
Oh,
But that's the short one. Just recognizing that like they're really enjoying it, and like so that must be something that I am doing fine, I guess. And another one kind of trying to think of this one, but on the realm of like thinking about teaching, a moment that popped up was something that a student shared with me about something they were going through. So I had a student who I was working with, and they had a family incident where something bad happened to their family. Their father passed away suddenly during the marching season, and I found out from the band director who told me about it, and then I just wasn't really sure how the whole thing was. They ended up coming back that season, and I kind of made a point that I would get them caught up and like just work with them, whatever level they came at, just being present with them, because I knew was kind of in the background, and we never really brought it up in conversation or anything like that. And the students, I kind of were also very supportive. And then we got through the season; they did really well. And then at our band banquet, they pulled me aside and they kind of just told me, "Hey, Mr. Wu, like there was a lot of stuff going on, and I truly would not have." I'm kind of summing it up really shortly. I would not have come back to this season if I did not know you were gonna be there.
oh,
And I don't know, this moment never happened to me. Like I am perfectly fine being a teacher, and that I think I do it okay, and like interacting with students. But I never had a moment where like a student like that kind of relate like
like you were like it was you. It wasn't just like,
yeah.
oh, teacher Jason, and it wasn't just like, oh, the whole school or the whole group of
Yeah,
teachers. It was you.
and it was a moment where like I didn't know what to do. I kind of stood there in front of them and I was like I just it was yeah, I just didn't know because it was such a thing that I never experienced before. And I just got to realizing like maybe this is why people like why we
That's
do what
why
we
we stick
do.
around.
Why we do what we do is not for like the gratitude of every single day being perfect or
Nope.
like having the the best truly one of the best jobs relationship wise, there are other
Yeah.
things, of course, that fall in, the line of stuff that educators can talk about. But it was just that moment, and it was my first moment where I was like, maybe if anything, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
So, long and short
Definitely.
story. Uh,
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. There's been a lot of moments that I think Jason and I have both had, and pretty much any teacher at any point in their career has had, will have. we'll continue having a lot of the frustrating points, and then there's like the reminders of why we're here
Hmm.
and what we're fortunate enough to get to do,
Hmm.
and hopefully be able to be there for people in a way that they need.
Yeah,
But on a slightly different change of tracks, we have a few things to look forward to that I'd love to share if you're okay with that, Jason.
perfectly fine.
So, in season 3 of Lines and Spaces, we will be talking about what we've been learning, what we've been experiencing in our brief first few months of teaching full time out of um, an undergrad program. With that said, we're out of an undergrad program, we're out of the university mindset a little bit, and we're kind of getting into where we're at first year of teaching, but we're trying to make sure that we're keeping a little bit of that perspective of current student teachers and current um, university students so that we can get a rounded enough view of what music education is looking and feeling like right now in 2022. You can look forward to more conversation, stories, rambling just like I'm doing now, special guests, some new faces and some old. And I think that's pretty much everything we wanted to share with you today. Jason, do you have anything to add
Um,
to close us out?
just a note about kind of yeah, we're just kind of rolling with it. We have some stuff that's already planned out, ready to go, and we were kind of just seeing where our growth kind of goes and what topics we want to engage in. Because
Mm-hmm,
as you know, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world of education in general and in music education because of the pandemic that are being brought to light. And I think both positive and negative things that are interesting to think about, especially one of the biggest like mottos for this podcast was talking about 21st century teaching and what that kind of looks like. So kind of excited to kind of just explore and see that. And like Michaela mentioned, we have some exciting returning guests and possible new faces joining us and kind of get out of that one Temple University bubble a little bit and
so
trying to
tough. We're temple
expand.
made, you know?
Yeah. It's just kind of expanding and just, in other ways and just talking about those topics or even introducing different new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so Michaela, any closing thoughts before we close out this episode?
Jace, I feel like I've said it all, and if you open the door for me to say more, then we will all regret it. So I'm gonna leave it right there. And in some advice that you recently gave me, very recently gave, um, make sure that you're staying kind to yourself. Situations are new and crazy, and even if they're not new and they don't seem crazy, still be kind to yourself and be patient, because that is what sets the tone for how you will treat your students, your coworkers, and your colleagues. Keep making music.
Yes. That's gonna do it for our first episode teaser of Lines and Spaces season 3. We will catch you back next time.
Catch you on the
Bye.
flip side.
Bye.